What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Gaming with the Bros Cast, episode 216 for the week of May 13th. My name is Harrison, and I am not joined by my brother. He is on vacation, so we are doing a little bit of a solo dolo podcast tonight. Debating if I wanted to do a podcast or not, but I don't really have much else to do at the moment, so I was like, why not talk about some of the stuff that's been going on in the video game industry. um, Another week. While there hasn't been layoffs yet, Square Enix is kind of giving us a warning that there's going to be layoffs. So just adding to the last year or so of layoffs, we know Xbox isn't done yet either. Microsoft, however you want to say it, probably some more coming out in the next quarter. So it's just, I don't want to say it is what it is because it's kind of putting it lightly, but without a better phrase, I mean, we're just kind of all waiting for the next company to do their layoffs. Hopefully, I really can see this happening at least for another year or so. Hopefully by mid 2025, everything will kind of even out again, and we can start to see some growth in like the job market for video games. But we'll see. I know some companies are still hiring, of course, but like we talked about in the past, all these companies just overhired during COVID, and saw a huge spike in revenue, and now we're kind of seeing the ramifications of that inevitably going down. I don't know whomever they were using to kind of track the sales and like forecast, like sales numbers and kind of guesstimating it, if you will, um the sales after COVID. Like, I don't know, maybe they should have lost their jobs first versus like the developers, because it's not their fault that they got hired. It's like the forecasters' fault, the analysts' fault, right? That projected these ridiculously high numbers. So anyways, we'll talk about the news here in a little bit, but yeah, probably gonna be a relatively quicker show tonight without my brother here, but wanted to do something, didn't want to leave you guys hanging. um so yeah, just to get the housekeeping out of the way, if you guys we still have our email, but if you guys prefer not to email, I know it's not necessarily old school, because I mean, companies definitely still use email, but in terms of talking to a podcast, we do have a kind of a text now feature where it's in the show notes below. All you do is just click on the link, and you can use your phone to actually text. If you have any questions or just want to say hi or anything like that, please feel free to use that. We would love to hear from you guys. Um, but without further ado, let's dive into what I've been playing. Um, I've been kind of slowly making my way through Stellar Blade. Um, Definitely really liking it. Still liking the vibes of it. I don't know why I've been playing it at such a slow pace, and it's probably because just the last 2 weeks have been so busy for me. Between my son's birthday, my wife had a birthday this past weekend, so we were celebrating it. So I haven't had a lot of time to play video games, and we've just been kind of getting ready all week and stuff like that. Um, but still, just slowly going through Stellar Blade. All right, that was a little guest spot for my son. So yeah, just kind of working my way through Stellar Blade. I'm technically, I guess, I'm in the next area of the game. The kind of the next. It's not an open world game, but it's definitely, there's a couple of like open zone areas, at least two that I know of so far. Um, so in that second area, but there's a lot of side quests in this game, and while some are just kind of like more or less fetch quests, there are some decent ones too. A lot of like finding out, what happened to people that are missing, stuff like that. So been doing pretty much like every side quest I can come across. Just really enjoying the vibes of this game. It's definitely a fun game. Um, the next, I've been just absolutely. It's probably actually Fortnite that's taken up a lot of my time in gaming this last couple weeks. Still playing a ton of it. I probably would have put it down sooner, but my son is really into it, which is really cool. He's uh been enjoying that, playing duo with me. We definitely play the zero build. I cannot keep up with gamers that play the regular build mode, but So we've been trekking through that. I actually completed the battle pass for the first time ever in Fortnite, which is not like an insane feat, but uh, yeah, I've never, and to be fair, I think I've only ever purchased one other battle pass. I think that's when they first introduced Star Wars into the game. So like Darth Vader was the kind of like the last unlock, and that one was a little frustrating because I ended up stopping. I told the story before, but you know, they added Dragon Ball Z stuff, so I ended up getting the battle pass and was having a good time with it, and ended up putting it down. Came back like a month later, and the battle pass was done, and I couldn't unlock Darth Vader, which is kind of a bummer because like you pay for it, so you feel like it should just permanently stay unlocked. I mean, I get why they do that, but anyways, I've told this story before and had this argument, but yeah, just been playing through some Fortnite. Did get a little bit frustrated um a bit ago today because we were playing, um and we were fighting one of like the mini bosses that's just like kind of not randomly in the map, but if you guys aren't familiar, there's a theme for each season, and this one's like uh like Zeus and Cerberus and stuff like that, like Greek mythology themed. So every time you play, you have a chance to fight one of these 4 or 5 bosses. They drop like legendary and mythic guns and stuff like that. And we were fighting that, and then another squad came up and downed him, and he got really frustrated and kind of like jumped up and was like, "I quit" or something like that. And I'm like, "Well," and he kind of got in the way, and I was like, "Dude, it's like it's like the game is not over. Like if you're downed, I still have a chance to kill them and uh, you know revive you, or you can get like a little revive card and then go to the area to where you can completely revive them if they actually get downed and die." So I was like, it's like, don't get up and get in the way of the TV. Like we still have a chance. And so I got a little bit frustrated with him with that. Um, and he got a little upset with me, but yeah, it is what it is. It's definitely learning curves with especially with multiplayer games when you're playing with against other people. It's different when you're playing like a Mario co-op game or something like that. So definitely some learning curves, but it's still a lot of fun. I don't know honestly how much more I'm gonna play of it until I check out whatever's next in like the next season, because I think it changes seasons at the end of the month. So I'm pretty much done with I'm done with the battle pass, and there's like a bonus battle pass you can get, or it's part of the battle pass. Sorry, I'm saying like battle pass like a million times, but it's part of the battle pass, and you can like unlock like extra rewards and stuff like that for people that go over like level 100. So that's pretty cool. Sitting here drinking on a Voodoo Ranger Juice Force IPA. It's pretty good. I do like IPAs. And I kind of like the juicy haze IPAs or whatever. So they're pretty good. Other than that, I've played a little bit of Animal Well. Um, I don't have a ton to say about this game other than I think it's really really cool. I'm really digging the art style. It's kind of feels like when you get in there, it definitely feels like a lonely game. Like the music, the atmosphere feels very lonely. Much like a kind of like a Metroid does. Kind of because there's usually nobody else. There's no other AI or NPCs that are friendly. It's just kind of monsters. In this game, there's not really, as far as I can tell, there's not really any combat yet. I don't know exactly what entails in this game. I know it's about a 7 to 9 hour game, but I guess there's a lot more stuff you can do after the game is over. Um, but so far I'm really enjoying it. Like I've got the firecrackers, which you can kind of launch at these spirit enemies. Because again, there's no like melee or anything like that. Like there's no dodge. It's just like you're kind of like this little. I know you're an animal, but like you're kind of like a blob. I'm sure you're some sort of animal because like you hatch, but yeah, you kind of just look like a little circular blob. And it's pretty much like very, very heavy on platforming. But yeah, you get this firecracker that you can kind of throw and scare away like these spirits. And then I just kind of ran into this boss fight where it shoots like bubbles at you, and you have to jump on the bubbles, and then hit 3 different switches that are, like, against the ceiling, and then it'll unlock the door so you can escape or leave, I guess. Um, so I did that, and then I unlocked the wand, which you can then use your own bubbles to then use as, like, an extra platforming jump, and, like, you can, either use it to either jump, or you can jump on it and ride it down, so you can kind of fall down slowly and then kind of jump onto another platform if you need to. So again, very very early in this game. I can't wait to see or hear what Nick has to say, because I think he's finished it. I think he tweeted out that he's finished the game, but is definitely going to continue to play it, because I guess there's a lot of unlocks and a lot of secrets and stuff like that in this game. A lot of people are comparing it to Fez, which I've never played before. Um, but so far, I mean, it's definitely Metroid light, I guess I would say. I mean, there's not. I mean, you do unlock like the map, which is very, very Metroid. Um, but so far, I haven't really came across anything that I've been stuck on. Although since I've gotten the wand, there are some abilities, there are some areas that I can to explore. So yeah, maybe it is a little bit Metroid like in that regard. So hopefully that stuff will kind of open up, and there's going to be some really really cool abilities that I can get. 'Cause that's like the main like that's like the best part of like a Metroid game, right? Is just getting these really awesome abilities, which are more or less the same abilities throughout all the games. Um, so, but I don't know what this one entails as far as like cool abilities. But right now they seem like they're pretty unique. So I'm excited to kind of dive more into that. Still got to play some more Tales of Kanzera Zao. I definitely put that on the back burner. Once Another Crab's Treasure came out and Stellar Blade came out. Um, and then there's another game that I want to try called Crow Country, which is a kind of a throwback to like the PlayStation 1 era of like Resident Evil. It's definitely got like that CRT look vibe to it, and it looks really cool. Like it's definitely like, again, I haven't played it, but I've seen like where you pull up the pause menu and it's got like your health status like a Resident Evil game does, like good, bad, whatever. In the green you're good, yellow danger, red close to death, whatever that phrasing is. But I do want to try that out. But there's just feels like there's so many games right now that I need to be playing. I also need to go back and finish, Mario Wonder, Mario RPG. There's a lot of stuff that I definitely want to play. I've got my, I think my Sea of Stars Special Edition coming in for the Switch that was released by I Am 8-Bit, so that should be coming in any day now. I know some people were getting it last week, so hopefully that comes any day now. I really want to play that game on the Switch, and 100% it, because I didn't do it on the Xbox, for whatever reason. I didn't blow through the story, but I definitely like was so engrossed in that story that I wanted to see it played out. But there are some stuff that I didn't do that can, I guess, unlock like the true ending maybe. So I'm definitely excited to dive back into that game, because that game is really good. I love that game. So I got that on the way, and then Paper Mario comes out this month too, which I'm thinking about picking up, even though I'm kind of on a kind of like on a Mario lull, I guess. I think I'm just Mario'd out from last year, with the movie and all that stuff. So um, again, I've talked about that before, but yeah, I'm pretty yeah. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door looks. I mean, that game was incredible. I played that back on the GameCube. So I'm excited to see what that looks like, and it seems like there's some pretty nice quality of life changes to that game. Like they just showed it off today where you can I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a wheel you can use, and you can kind of on the fly switch your characters. So that's pretty cool. Because I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, each character has like their own unique ability that you can use in like the overworld, or just in the world in general, to kind of unlock secrets and to move on, in the story. So definitely looking forward to that. And then I don't really know what else is coming out. I feel like there's just so much stuff that's out or on the horizon. And then next month, I cannot wait for next month. super excited for when is the let's see, Xbox June showcase. Okay, so that comes out June 9th. So we're going on vacation in June, but we're leaving on the 14th. So that is on a Sunday. So that's actually pretty awesome. So we'll definitely be able to live stream it. I'm sure Nick will join me on that because I think that's going to be a really interesting showcase. I mean, obviously, with all the news right now with Xbox and just kind of mismanaging and closing their studios and stuff like that. I'm very curious to see like the excitement level that people have. I'm still pretty excited, and I've kind of calmed down from last week. I was pretty, and rightfully so. I was pretty negative with Xbox because I was mad, because specifically because of Tango, right? Like Tango, we just came off of Hi-Fi Rush, which was I still got to finish it, but I mean, it was reviewing incredibly well. Evil Within 1 and 2, especially 2, are some of my favorite horror games. They're pretty incredible. They're great survival horror games. Um, but now that I'm kind of I've had a week to process and kind of think about it. Like it ultimately makes sense. I mean, obviously, Xbox, Microsoft just spent 70 billion on getting Activision Blizzard, and yeah, they probably need to cut some costs, and they probably sat down with Phil and said, hey, we've got to close some studios like that. Let's just be real, and they probably had that conversation with them. And you look at something like Tango, right? They've put out incredible games. Like they're like the three games other than oh gosh, the Ghost game. Um Tango Ghost. Tango Gameworks. Ghostwire Tokyo. That game looked promising in like its initial trailers, but I did end up playing it on Game Pass, and I played about an hour of it. And it's not great. It just didn't click with me. And it didn't review well either. So I think that's a pretty common sentiment across the board. Is it's just a lot of people didn't like it. It was an interesting concept, but I didn't kind of vibe with it. So other than Ghostwire, like every other game they've put out has been kind of a critical success. I know Evil Within sold pretty well, but also Evil Within 2 I think sold about half. I think Evil Within 1 sold maybe 5 to 6 million, and Evil Within 2 was half to maybe even lower than that, lower than half. So I mean, you look at the track record, and obviously Hi-Fi Rush is not going to sell like gangbusters. It's on Game Pass. It was shadow dropped. Obviously it didn't get the marketing until after the game was released. Um, who knows what like the numbers look like? Once it was, on the PlayStation 5. Like if a lot of people actually bought it, who actually knows? But I mean, it makes sense to me that they're kind of shut down. They just hadn't really had a commercial success, and in 8-9 years that studio's been open, maybe even longer than that actually. They haven't had like super success, which is definitely a bummer. And then same with like Arcane Austin, right? When they were spun off, and they made Prey, which Prey is an incredible video game. Like if you like BioShock and that kind of formula, that kind of genre, um, it's incredible. It really is. But I also don't think that game sold very well either. Um, so for that game to not sell super well, and then you know, Redfall comes out and obviously is a horrible flop. And granted, that's Microsoft's fault. That's Xbox's fault for coming in and kind of forcing them to make this style of game. And then knowing that the game was in rough shape, they still put it out anyways. So yeah, that one we can kind of blame on Xbox. And look, you have Arcane Austin. They're known for, you know, single player, first person, like sim style games, like for them to come in and make a live servicey style co-op shooter, it just doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, have them do what they do best, give them another chance with that, and then if that one flops or doesn't do well, then shut them down. But like, for Redfall of all games to be their last game, that is definitely a bummer. Um, so yeah, let's dive into the news. I kind of went on a tangent about that Xbox, but I wanted to talk about some more about it because I mean it's obviously been on everybody's minds for the whole week, and now that Hellblade 2 comes out in what 10 days, something like that. Like it's crazy that the marketing kind of just started, and all the comments they're getting cooked. They're like, oh, Hellblade comes out the 22nd, right? And then Ninja Theory gets shut down the 23rd. Like that, those are the kind of jokes that people are saying, and honestly, like I'm nervous for Ninja Theory because I mean this game's been in development for like 6 years, and we all know that Hellblade is not gonna sell a ton of copies. I mean, A, it's on Game Pass, and B, it seems like a little bit of a niche style game. I think the only thing that makes me a little bit better about Ninja Theory right now is that they have been kind of like Xbox's go-to studio for kind of pushing like audio design, pushing visual design. So I think they're kind of not using them, but like they're, for lack of a better word, they're using them to kind of push the genre, to push the medium forward with especially their audio design. Their audio design is incredible with the first Hellblade. I know the second one's going to be, hopefully on par, if not better. So, and obviously the game is visually stunning. Like it looks, just from the trailers and stuff, it looks incredible. Now, hopefully it looks that good when we're actually playing it. But we'll see about that. But yeah, it looks, yeah. So I'm still nervous about it, but I'm not as nervous. But really anything can happen. I think companies there's still going to be more closures in the near future. We'll just have to kind of wait and see what happens. But diving into the news here, we'll start with PlayStation. They just announced they've got two new CEOs, which is interesting. Let me pull up Jason Schreier's Twitter because he's the one that I saw him post about it. So yeah, it says breaking: Sony Interactive Entertainment PlayStation will replace former boss Jim Ryan with two new CEOs. Herman Holst, CEO of Studios, which I think he came like internally, like he may have like kind of worked his way up through PlayStation, like was on the developer side and then kind of moved his way up. So that's really cool to get that kind of aspect, from him. So he kind of knows what it is to make video games. And then I'm gonna butcher this. And Hideki Nishino, CEO of Platforms, both reported to Chairman Hiroki Totoki. Company says effective June 1st. So, I mean, I guess pretty exciting. PlayStation is in kind of a weird spot right now. The PlayStation VR 2 is more or less kind of a flop. The PlayStation Portal, I don't know if we've ever gotten numbers from that. They say it's constantly selling out, but if you're only making 20,000 units, 50,000 units at a time, like it's going to sell out probably. So those numbers could be, that saying that it's sold out doesn't necessarily mean it's sold like multiple millions of units. So they may have put that information out there, but I'm not quite sure. But so yeah, you got the PlayStation Portal, which is a neat thing, but I think a lot of people would just prefer like a native console or something where you could just download it to it and then let it play natively off the Portal. But obviously, it would be way more expensive than the $200 price right now. So, I mean, that thing is what it is. It feels like a kind of a weird handheld hybrid thing. I'm not quite sure, but right now we're kind of PlayStation obviously got pretty lucky with Helldivers. I don't think they expected Helldivers to be nearly as popular as it is right now. And then they fumbled the bag a little bit with forcing people to sign in on the PlayStation account, which we've already talked about it. was the plan all along, but with so many players coming in, like just jamming up the servers, they had to put that on pause. Um, and then, when they tried to do it again, the PC gamers were not having it. So good on them for getting that straightened. But now we're in the midst of PlayStation not having any major first party games until at least March of 2025. So who knows? I mean, the video games industry is so secret all the time. Like they try to be so secret. Um, so when a company comes out and says they're not gonna have any first party stuff, like you want to believe them, but also in the back of your mind, like, wait, they could be telling us this now, and then we get like really surprised that there's actually something like coming out. But I don't know. And right now, I feel like I tend to believe what PlayStation is saying. But there's a rumored showcase this month actually, which we're on the 13th. So who knows if that's going to come? Typically, they announce their showcases a week in advance. So they could announce it tomorrow. It comes out next week. So who actually knows? Um, so yeah, I think PlayStation is in a very weird spot right now. Obviously, they're still selling a lot of PlayStations. But obviously that's slowed down a little bit. They weren't quite as high as they anticipated them to be in 2023. But I mean, there hasn't been a ton of exclusives either. Like we talked about it before, but just this generation has been kind of weak on the first party front from PlayStation, and obviously especially for Xbox, except for this year. So we'll see. So yeah, they definitely got a lot to work on and work with. So best of luck to both of them. And obviously PlayStation is not in a bad spot. It's not like they're coming in to turn the company around, but it's just PlayStation's been kind of in a weird spot with their live service games that they announced, and they canceled the Last of Us factions. That Spider-Man trailer came out for the multiplayer game. So I don't know. It's just weird situation, weird scenario. Obviously, AAA gaming right now is not in the greatest place. So we'll see. We'll see how they steer the ship, right? So next up is Assassin's Creed. The Assassin's Creed Red, codename Red, has officially been confirmed as called Assassin's Creed Shadow. Now, this is the feudal Japan Assassin's Creed game that people have kind of been asking for since like 1 or 2. So it's cool that this is finally we're gonna get a trailer for it next week. No, sorry, on the 15th. So in 2 days, on Wednesday, we're gonna get a trailer for that. I'm moderately excited for this. I'm not the biggest Ubisoft fan in the world. I've said that before. I think Prince of Persia is like the best thing they've put out. The Lost Crown, the best thing they've put out in years. And I liked Valhalla, but it was just too long, man. It was so long. It was like, and I did a lot of the side content too, but I mean, like, it was like a 90-hour experience, and I think I bought the DLC on sale, but I haven't actually touched it yet. So I don't know. I've been, I wouldn't say a love-hate relationship because I don't think I've ever loved Ubisoft, but I've enjoyed a lot of their games. But nothing has quite hit with me in a long time, outside of Valhalla and Prince of Persia. So we'll see how this looks. Again, I'm excited. I think like feudal Japan era is like very popular right now with with like Rise of the Ronin, obviously like Ghost of Tsushima, Sekiro. Like it's a very cool era. In not only Japan, but just like in the history of the world. Like it's such a cool era, and to have a game based in that era is really cool too. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. And then our last story before we kind of wrap up the show here, is Square Enix has officially confirmed that they are focusing on multi-platform going forward. They're also preparing for layoffs in the U.S., Europe, amid like their heavy reconstructioning of the company. I think this makes sense. I think while I think the analysts at Square Enix may overestimate a lot of their games and how much they're going to sell. Um, uh, we talked about a little bit in the show how some of these analysts are. I don't know what they're looking at and why they're forecasting like such high sales, but I think Square Enix has been kind of the worst in that because they just seem to be unhappy across the board. Like even when a game sells 4 to 5 million, they're just like, that's not that good, which is incredible numbers. 4 to 5 million is incredible, especially in like this day and age. I mean, outside of like Nintendo, like which I mean can easily sell like a 10 million a 10 million copy game. A lot of companies 4 to 5 million, they're pretty happy about that. But yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense. I mean, just look at Final Fantasy, right, on PlayStation. I just think they did not see it going this way. I think Final Fantasy VII remake, sold pretty well. Just because I mean, like people were so interested in that, even people that didn't have the nostalgia for Final Fantasy, I think wanted to just check it out. And I haven't, I played the demo for Final Fantasy. I'm an old school guy, man. I like the turn based Final Fantasy games, like the turn-based JRPGs. Final Fantasy X is still my favorite Final Fantasy game. Granted, I haven't played 7 Remake or Rebirth, but I just don't think, and I don't know if we've gotten the sales numbers for Rebirth yet, but I don't think it's on track with what they kind of estimated the sales to be. And even Final Fantasy 16 like didn't sell anywhere near their expectations. So I think it makes sense. I think we're kind of out of we may be out of the age of third party AAA games being exclusive to one platform. I just think it doesn't make a lot of sense anymore. Even if PlayStation or Xbox is cutting you like a fat check to put it on their platform, I think just the overall sales that you're losing on having on another platform, it's just not worth it to me. And I definitely think Square is feeling that. And I've seen some weirdos, man, today on on Twitter, and where else would people be weird at but Twitter. But OJ Player Essence over on YouTube and Twitter, he had done a post, and he had retweeted somebody. I can't remember the person's name. It doesn't matter, but he was comparing PlayStation 5 because Square is abandoning PlayStation 5 users, that he is comparing PlayStation 5 user base to like 1939 African Americans in the US. Um like just kind of being set, like pushed aside, and like it doesn't matter. Like what kind of comparison is that? Um there are some hot takes and some crazy takes that I've seen on Twitter, and that was by far one of the worst I've ever seen. Like you're comparing like racism to not having an exclusive game on your favorite platform of choice. Like that is mind-boggling to me, but also at the same time it's Twitter, so like not really. Um so that's certainly a take, but yeah, I just think I still think there's benefits to games being exclusive, like if it's a first party you know company, and it's coming on either on Xbox or PlayStation. I think there's still some benefit to that. Although I mean even PlayStation, like I really think, I don't know, man, like maybe even like Wolverine. Like what if like Wolverine came out day and day one with PlayStation and PC? I think it just makes sense. I think I've understood the strategy about like kind of waiting a year or two to put out these games on PC, but I think they're really like, especially with Helldivers, I think they're going. I think that maybe have like convinced them that they need to put their stuff day and date with PC to kind of match Xbox too, right? I just think like something exclusive on Xbox, something exclusive on PlayStation, just doesn't make sense anymore. It just needs to come out on. It's not gonna be everything. At least come out on PC. I think that just makes the most sense. Um, And I think it like drives sales. Like, it's a PlayStation exclusive, but also it's on PC day and date. Like that's huge. And I think a lot of people would love that. So I don't know. Times are changing. Whether people like it or not. Like the 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 day is old of you know console wars and exclusive games and stuff like that. Like it's kind of coming to an end because these companies with these AAA games. I mean, if you want to continue to get your Spider-Mans and your God of Wars and your Halos and all that stuff, Gears of War, like you got to face the fact that it's going to come out on other platforms. It just has to. These games are too expensive to make, and unless we want like the AAA games port, side of video game industry to crash, they've got to come up with some solutions. So I just think it makes the most sense. Obviously, Xbox has been doing that for years, and now they're testing the waters with putting some of their not lower end, but like the games that make sense to come to other platforms. They're testing the waters out, right? Um, it just makes a lot of sense. Who knows if like on the Xbox side of Halo and Gears and stuff like that will ever come to to PlayStation, but something like Starfield, like absolutely Starfield, the next Elder Scrolls game, it just makes sense. Like, yeah, it just makes sense for them to do that. So yeah, I think Square and I think the writing on the wall has been like that for a long time for Square Enix. They just been constantly complaining about their sales and stuff like that. So I don't know, just keeping their stuff exclusive to PlayStation, it just doesn't make sense. And then like all the people crying on Twitter about Square Enix abandoning them. It's like, well, why didn't you support them? Why didn't you support Square? If you would have bought Final Fantasy, if the masses would have bought Final Fantasy, they may have continued to have that partnership and had their stuff exclusive. So, but not a lot of people bought it, so they're not going to continue doing that. It's just a waste of resources, a waste of time, and it's a waste of money. You know, I think Rebirth cost them a lot of money, um, and with it, with speculating that it hasn't sold very well, they've got to make some immediate changes in order for them to stay in business in the long run, and that's what these changes are. They're doing this heavy restructuring of the company, so it just makes sense. Hopefully they don't abandon some of their smaller games, but we'll certainly see what happens. But yeah, I think that is going to. I'm just going to jump on a Twitter real quick and see if I see anything else. Sometimes news drops at night. Like this tweet right here. Monster Hunter series sales passes 100 million. Monster Hunter Rise sales past 15. That's insane. Like, 10 years ago, would we say Monster Hunter is like one of Capcom's biggest franchises? I think a lot of people would have laughed or said, "What's Monster Hunter?" And now it's like a massive, massive game. And obviously, Monster Hunter World definitely like kind of like catapulted that game into like the mainstream. And then Rise definitely followed up with it being on the Switch. Like that was pretty huge for that because games just kind of sell on Switch, like they really do. So, um, but yeah, I think that's going to wrap up the show. Everyone, I appreciate everyone that's been listening. It's been fun doing this for so long now. We should be back to normal next week. Nick should be back on the podcast, and we should be rolling. So I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say about Animal Will, because I'm sure he'll have a lot to say since he'll be putting a pumping in a lot of hours into that game. As I will, I definitely want to play some more. Happy 1 year anniversary to Tears of the Kingdom. It's crazy that the game's been out a year now. 20 plus million copies sold. One of the best games, my personal game of the year for 2023. One of my favorite Zelda games of all time. Still a bummer we didn't get DLC for that. I would love to see, even if it's just like more Zonai, items, or Zonai spheres, or I can't remember what they're called. Anyways, more stuff to kind of tinker around with, even if it's not story stuff. I would have liked to see more of that stuff. So, bummer we didn't get anything. We did get a really cool piece of art that Nintendo dropped, but that was about it. So, but there's a rumored Zelda game in the works that some people are speculating that it's going to come out this year, like a Zelda game where you play as Zelda. Like, that's insane. Like, I would love that. I mean, Peach just got her. I mean, Peach just had a game before, but yeah, that could be a really cool, like, a really cool concept. I don't know how exactly it would play, but I think it could be really cool. Obviously, it's still forever rumored that Twilight Princess and Wind Waker are coming this year. So, well, I mean, we got the June Direct in a month or so. So I can't wait for that. Can't wait to. Yeah, June next month is going to be so much fun. I absolutely love the summertime. I love like the E3 time frame with all the announcements. It's just so fun, and we definitely need it as a whole in the game industry right now, just because there's just been so much crappy news pretty much this whole year, and the news has been so dry. Nintendo's been radio silent until their investors meeting, so we definitely need. We don't need it, but like we need it to kind of lift our spirits, right? So, all right, guys. Well, again, hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Consider subscribing to the channel. I'll let YouTube algorithm pick one of my videos below for you guys to watch. Give it a click, and I hope you enjoy, and I will see you in the next video.